So it's pretty common knowledge that a lot of fearful avoidant attachment styles, aka that hot and cold partner in relationships, spends a good bit of time going through this grass is greener syndrome and often finds themselves a little while into relationships wondering, should I be doing something else? Is this relationship really going to last? Is this the one for me long term? And often flip-flopping back and forth between should I stay and should I go? But I've had a lot of conversations with fearful avoidant attachment styles over the years, either as clients or through the personal development school, who have talked about often regretting that approach and even recognizing at points that maybe that was a form of sabotaging the relationship. So in today's video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why the grass is always greener for fearful avoidance, what this is actually a manifestation of, and what the root cause is so you can deeply understand it and grow from this and stop flip-flopping back and forth in your relationships once and for all. But also, we'll talk about how this affects different attachment styles, including dismissive avoidance or the anxious attachment style version of the root cause of this. And then at the end of this video, I'll talk to you about 3 powerful steps you can start taking today to really solve for this. So one of the first things that I want you to know is that the grass is greener idea is often for fearful avoidance a manifestation of learned helplessness. What do I mean by this? Well, learned helplessness is a psychological phenomenon where a person essentially becomes passive and stops trying to really change their situation because of an experience of failure. Now, of course, you're probably sitting here thinking, well, grass is greener and looking for something outside of the relationship. Isn't that anything but learned helplessness? But that learned helplessness is actually situated in the fearful avoidance ability to try to solve problems within the relationship that they are in. So the concept of learned helplessness was first studied by Martin Seligman and Steve Mayer in the 1960s through kind of sad experiments with dogs. Basically, the researchers found that dogs, when they were exposed to unavoidable shocks, later failed to escape when the opportunity to escape represented itself, because they had already been conditioned to believe that their actions essentially didn't matter. So by not giving the dog an escape route, having them exposed to shocks, they just eventually gave up and were like, okay, let's not bother. Then when the escape route came back on the table and was available, they stayed there. And this is something that happens to humans as much as it happens to animals, just oftentimes in more unique ways. And the variation of this for a fearful avoidant is that fearful avoidant attachment styles often grow up in dynamics or households where their needs don't seem to matter because they are not being presented with the opportunity growing up to express their needs. In fact, a lot of fearful avoidants grow up in codependent type of households where they are taking care of other people's needs, but not communicating or expressing their own. So let's fast forward this into their adult romantic relationships. Well, you've come into learned helplessness as a fearful avoidant around the idea that if something's not working in a relationship, you can communicate it. You can hash it out. You can work to improve it by communicating your needs. No. Instead, you've been conditioned to believe that trying to communicate your needs or get your needs met through a partner isn't really going to work long-term anyways. And so there's often this dynamic of not really bothering. So now let's take this a step further. If you're somebody who believes you can't really communicate, there's no point to communicating in a relationship. The relationship is just more about you pleasing the other person than anything else and hoping that there's good connection and chemistry long-term and that that's what's going to create a lasting relationship. Then when you end up having times where something makes you feel insecure, or something makes you feel frustrated or unheard, or you don't like something in a relationship, your learned helplessness exists oftentimes within the capacity to attempt to solve this. And oftentimes you'll feel like my vulnerability doesn't matter. I should just shut down. I shouldn't say anything. I don't want to be too weak or too vulnerable by sharing what's going on in my internal world. And so you'll generally see that looking outside of the relationship becomes a subconscious strategy to outsource your problems. And I want you to know something too here, which is that all attachment styles do this in various ways. Dismissive avoidants have this idea that, and by the way, every insecure attachment style tends to outsource the most the place in relationships that they feel in the most significant learned helplessness. As an example, a dismissive avoidant attachment style often looks for the perfect partner that they'll never really have to be in conflict with, flaw finds frequently in the relationship because they are attempting to outsource their inability to hash things out and work through a conflict. And yes, they also sometimes have this grass is greener syndrome going on, fearful avoidance. Often don't know how to feel seen and heard and get their needs heard and practice receiving from others or relying on others. And so, as the relationship progresses and challenges come up after being with somebody for a period of time, they start thinking, okay, maybe I'm better off with somebody else outside of a relationship instead. Anxious attachment styles often outsource their soothing to others. They struggle to self-soothe. And so they think, okay, my partner should always be here to soothe me. So all different attachment styles have their own form of learned helplessness, but we want others to fix it for us when we don't know how to move through these challenges themselves. So now this brings me to the next step, which is, well, what if you're in a relationship with somebody and you're trying to communicate and they're just not showing up? Well, there's three major steps to tell the difference between somebody who's able to grow with you or somebody who's not. And the first step is to ask yourself, if you are a fearful avoidant and you find yourself having this grass is greener syndrome, ask yourself the important question: have I tried to solve for this in the relationship itself by communicating my position? And unfortunately, a lot of the time, the answer will be no. But there's sort of a silver lining to the unfortunate part, which is that that means there's a lot of room for you to grow on this matter. Now, before I give you the third major step here, I want you to know as well that if you are somebody who's working on communication, working on even knowing your needs, and feels like you don't know what your needs are in a relationship and how to connect with other people, and check this out fully for free, along with all other courses in the Personal Development School. And something really exciting that we are doing for the month of March specifically is when you sign up for a free trial, you'll be able to take and keep our attachment styles and sex course for life. So you go in, you check out all the courses, and you get that course that talks all about the different challenges, benefits, drawbacks, patterns that you'll see with different attachment styles around sex and intimacy on an ongoing basis going forward. And we may not do this ever again. Then what you want to do next is say, okay, well, how am I going to communicate through positive framing is step two. So rather than going to somebody and saying something like, hey, you don't care, you're not doing ABC, you're not texting enough or spending enough time with me or being present enough, and making the other person into the bad guy and communicating about what you don't want, the answer here is to communicate about what you do need. And in doing this, this allows for the opportunity to hash something out, receive your needs, and have positive momentum in the relationship. The third piece is to set a deadline, because there is still a chance that you are wondering if this person is compatible with you and you are wondering if you're better off somewhere else because the person literally is unable to show up and meet your needs and maybe doesn't care to or know how to grow in the direction with you, or maybe they're in their own version of learned helplessness. And in this particular space, it's actually going to be really important that you set a deadline for how long you're going to invest in somebody if they're not able to invest back. But a lot of times what we will see is a two-pronged solution that comes out of this. Number one, you get better at communicating your needs. It's almost like a win-win. You improve your ability to communicate, to show up, to share what's going on inside of you. And at the same time, the relationship improves as a result. You're growing together instead of growing apart. But in the case that somebody is not able to show up and is unwilling to do the work with you, well, then you know with certainty at the end of your deadline that it's time to walk away and that it wouldn't have worked with this person anyways, which makes your closure much easier to find, makes your ability to move on much faster, and you get to walk away guilt and regret free knowing you did everything that you could. If you're somebody who's truly interested in helping others while also securing financial freedom for your future, there is a limited time option to join our 50% off certified relationship coach program. And this is a 12-week program where you can create financial freedom, work from anywhere in the world, and truly make an impact on other individuals' lives by becoming a certified relationship coach in just 12 weeks. Throughout this entire 12 weeks, you will learn all of the tools that you need to discover somebody's attachment style and help them heal and change their attachment style if they are insecurely attached so that they can become secure and build the best relationships of their life. On top of that, you'll learn all about the subconscious mind and how to actually rewire our painful limiting beliefs, our painful behavioral patterns, and help your clients learn their relationship needs, as well as the needs of their loved ones. You'll also learn how to build a thriving coaching practice and set yourself up for long-term success. You'll learn all of the business tips and tools you need to build funnels, leverage marketing strategies, and really thrive in the marketplace. Even if you have absolutely no coaching experience, this certification will give you everything you need starting from scratch to become a thriving relationship coach. You can find more using the link down below. So that is the root of the grass is greener syndrome. Hopefully that gives you some really helpful insight into what the actual cause is and how to solve for that so that you don't accidentally sabotage relationships over and over again, but at the same time, you don't stay in the wrong ones. So I hope you enjoyed this for today. Thank you so much for watching and stopping by. If you don't want to miss tomorrow's video about how avoidants are often torn between the concept of love and freedom, then make sure you hit that subscribe button because that's coming out tomorrow. And if this is helpful for you, share it with somebody who might benefit. Thank you for watching.